Welcome back. So we can also set global values from your Maven commands. In previous one of the video, you know that how you set global variables from the global.properties. So this is a properties file where you can set any values, and in your code, you are scanning this properties file and you are executing. So that is one nice way to do it. There is another way also you can handle these values. Now let it be Chrome in your global data.properties, but let's say client have immediate requirement of running them in Firefox. Okay, so in that case, what happens is that if you want to make that update, you have to come to your code, update it to the Firefox, and then commit your code, again push to the GitHub, and then you need to execute your test on Firefox, right? A lot of efforts we are putting here, checking the code, push all this into GitHub. But what if you can control what browser to execute, where you can send dynamically from commands? Okay, when you want to execute anything, can we pass which value to execute from the command? If that we can do, then really we are not touching anything in the code. So you need not modify or update code or anything here, right? So that will help, right? Now let's do one thing. So let it be Chrome. Let's not disturb this. But if you want to send the same browser value at runtime, that is also possible, that without disturbing your code, if you want to give any other value, we can do it. Let's see. For that, there is a command like this, -d. D stands for Maven parameters. Okay. Now let's say you want to decide which browser to run from runtime, like commands here. So here, then you have to give like this, browser equals to Firefox. Okay, put Firefox. So here clearly you are telling that I want to execute in Firefox browser. Now somehow from your code, you should be in a position to listen to this Maven variables so that you can update your code accordingly. Okay, now if you run like this, and if you don't have a mechanism to listen this parameter from your code, then there is no sense. It will again blindly pick up this value only. Okay, so you have to write a code in a smart way that check if there are any values coming from the commands. Okay, if you have something called browser which is coming from command, use that. If you are not getting anything from commands, then use what you have in your global data.properties in your code. Like this, you have to intelligently write. That means here you are first giving preference to the variable which is coming from your Maven commands, because that is what we need, right? At runtime, on fly, you can decide which browser you want to execute, and your code should respect that what you are sending instead of what is having in global data. So let's see how to give that respect. So where are we setting this global data properties of browser? So we are pretty sure that we are doing that in the base test.java, right? So here where we are actually taking the browser information. So for now, by default, we are reading this from the global data.properties. But instead, what I will do here, so now to read a browser value which is coming from Maven, you should give system.getProperty. Okay, so system.getProperty. This method will help you to read system level variable values. Okay, so now here you see. Previously also we used this step. This is not new to us. User.directory. This is a system level property which can give you the path of your project. Similarly, whatever you send from Maven, these are also treated as system level variables. For any system level variables to read, you give this method system.getProperty. Now which property you want to read? So we know that we are sending browser property from our Maven. Right. So if this property exists, if this is not equals to null, you know what? In Java there is a smart way to handle this. Like if this is not null, use this. If it is null, use the one which is having from global data.properties. That is our logic, right? You can do all that on single step. Just Google Java ternary operator. So let me show here. If it is not null, then what? That means browser value, what you are taking from your Maven. If it is not null, then definitely we have to use the value which is getting from terminal only. So write like this, question mark, and use this value. If it is null, then put colon and use this value. That's it. And finally, take that into string browser name. Just follow me, you will understand. I'll explain you how this works. Right. So what Java ternary operator does is, first you have to provide condition, guys. If condition is true, then second argument will get execute. If this condition is false, then third argument will get execute. Okay. So these two arguments you will separate it with question mark and colon. This is the syntax. Now what is this condition here? System.getProperty of browser. So let's say from your Maven you are typing like this. So that means it will first go here and see what is browser Firefox, right? So it will retrieve, is Firefox not equals to null? Yes, true, because we are returning something. That means we are not returning any null. This condition became true. That means so we are using the second argument. What second argument says? Go and get the value from the Maven. That's what we are doing. Let's say you are not sending anything here. You are simply sending your profile information, but you are not sending any global property. Okay. In that case, what happens? It's again trying to get browser value from terminal. It does not exist, so it returns null. Null not equals to null. This condition is false. Okay. Null equals to null. If condition is false, what it does? It executes last argument. So last argument we are telling, as it is null, go ahead and take the property from your global data.properties. So that is how smartly we are setting up in one single line. Basically, you need to write one if condition, then take this, else take this, right? Instead, you can merge all that using Java ternary operator. So no matter null or not, somehow it will return either Maven property or your local property, right? So once it returns, we are storing in the browser name. That's it. This is the simple change you need to make in your framework. Now your framework is smart enough to read and decide which one to use. Okay. So now let's do one thing. Right now we didn't write any code for Firefox, right? That is left to you. You know what to do for Firefox. Go ahead and write it. But here, from my terminal, let's give Firefox and see what happens. So first we are asking to execute profile regression, right? -d browser equals to Firefox. Make sure you save the project. I'm keep stressing it because if you don't save, it will not auto save when it runs the terminal. Let's see what happens. Now we are overriding that with Firefox browser. Perfect. See, it failed. So there are a lot of failures. So let's come down and see. It failed at initialization base test line number 60. Okay, line number 60 is here. Because it went into this Firefox, it could not give any life to the driver here. Without giving life, if you try to apply driver.manage, then it will obviously return null pointer exception, right? So that's what it happened. Now let me give the real code. So I'll just copy paste the information. You all know that for Firefox you need to do gecko driver. So I have that in my local and I'm initializing the driver. So now you will see the test running in the Firefox browser. So here you already set it in Chrome, but it won't read that. So that's the logic we have given in our test. And now you see two Firefox browsers are executed. Perfect. So this is how you will decide the global parameters even from your terminal also without even touching your code. This is very important, guys. All these URLs. And now Rahul Shetty Academy is a prod URL. In your real-time project, there could be QA URL, UAT URL, development URL. So all these URLs in which environment to run, you will decide from runtime using this Maven parameters. Okay. So let's do another thing. I'll remove this browser now. What happens? This time it has to pick Chrome, right? Because our code intelligently looks for Maven global properties. If it is not found, then it will assign what the property value present in the global data, local code. Local code always have the Chrome, right? Now let's see. I did not provide any browser equals to Chrome. It should pick Chrome by default. You see, Chrome is picked, no more Firefox. Perfect. So that is how you can trick and make the execution happen. And the one what I want you to take here is ternary operator. This is how you have to impress your teammates or recruiters when you are interviewing, that showing them that if else condition, instead of writing few lines of code, you can wrap them in one single line using Java ternary operator when you have run into situations like this. Okay. So that's about Maven commands, what you need, at least for Selenium framework. So in the next lecture, I will show how to install Jenkins, because now we are going to run and schedule these tests from Jenkins continuous integration tool. Okay. First, in the next lecture directly, I'll show how to set up Jenkins first, and then from there we will see how to, set up all this framework by creating new pipeline job there. Okay. Thank you.